Okay, so this is a continuation, an extension of an earlier video that I uploaded. If you haven't seen it, I recommend that you watch it. I think it's called like racial inequality and economic disparities. I probably said that backwards. Part one, where I discuss the economic relations as it pertains to police brutality and race in this country. So this will be a continuation of that. In this video, I would like to discuss everything but the economical aspects of it, more so on the side of police reform and what these different movements can do and the strategies that they need to accept in order to advance their goals and ultimately receive them and see them be implemented. So first and foremost, the Black Lives Matter movement at large is basically kind of leaderless. It honestly reminds me of the left in a lot of sense, in the sense that I feel like it's a lot of people that don't really know what they're doing, but their heart is in the right place, and hopefully eventually they'll figure it out, and hopefully sooner than later they'll figure it out. But it's very sporadic with what's happening right now, but people are rising up and there is a call for change, and that in its own right is excellent. Okay, you don't want this to become numb to where presumably innocent, especially in the case of unarmed minorities, black people in particular, are killed by the police and nobody says a peep. No matter what you think about the protest and some instances of violence, I do think it is a good thing that these events and situations still garner reactions from the American people, no matter what those reactions may be. Okay, now, what should happen? What are the strategies that these movements should implement in order to receive their goals? Okay, well, before I get into that, allow me to just say that this is a very, very, very difficult fight. This is a harder fight than the fight on the economics, okay? And there's a reason for that. See, black people have been, for centuries, hundreds of years in this country, the first slaves were brought over in 1619, I believe it was. For hundreds of years, black people's rights have been, in some form or fashion, one way or another, limited, okay? I mean, if you want to take it back to the slavery days and then even past then, they've never really had kind of rights and abilities to do certain things as maybe any other particular race, okay? And so breaking out of that is going to be extremely difficult, especially with the powers that be that are seemingly intent on keeping that the way it is. So, as elaborated upon in the last video, fight the economics fight. Why? Because those are fights that involve the majority of people, that involve everyone. You can get everyone on board when it comes to, hey, do you want healthcare? Hey, do you want this? Hey, do you want that particular thing that you don't have currently? And they go, yeah. And so you build coalitions with other minorities, with white people who may not share the same views that you have as it pertains to race issues, cultural issues, social issues, but they agree with you that, oh, well, I think that everyone should have healthcare, guaranteed healthcare. Well, okay, you're just going to have to take that ally. Look at the likes of Fred Hampton. Look what happened with Martin Luther King. Martin Luther King was killed when he was on a poor people's campaign. He was in Memphis helping workers with the sanitation strike. Ironically, I actually wrote a paper about this when I was a freshman in high school for a literature class, and they killed him after that. And the same thing happened with Fred Hampton. He was allying himself with the laborers of this country. And that's what I believe the Black Lives Matter movement and any movement that is advocating for an improvement of the treatment of black people in this country, they need to form an ally with the working class, with the labor movement, okay? And ally themselves with them in order to fight for economic rights. Because I got something to tell you. The economics helps everyone, including black people. All right. When you look at the statistics for healthcare, I can't name them off the top of my head, but black people are largely the most that are affected when it comes to, like black women are more likely to die as a result of pregnancy than white women by however large the margin may be. But that's just one statistic, and there exists many statistics such as that. So these economical issues will help everyone, including black people themselves. So there needs to be an allying of the working class and of the people that would like for racial relations in this country to improve, okay? And they need to improve dramatically. Next, what needs to happen is there needs to be a set agenda. And the people that are fighting for the improvement of race relations and in order to decrease police brutality, they need to have a set goal. Have something specifically that you're fighting for. Like you say, Black Lives Matter, we get it, Black Lives Matter, I agree. But what? What? And people need to realize that, you know, these politicians, especially the Democrats that are nominally in agreement with you, promote policies that harm your agenda. Under Joe Biden, a Democratic president, a person that would condemn, you know, the unarmed killing of a black person, the police are set to get more money, more hardware under him than they did under Donald Trump. These are things that people don't tell you. So the anger needs to be, in my opinion, not so directed at the police, which they, you know, don't get me wrong, they get no excuses over here. It's all warranted, but it needs to be directed at the politicians because they're not the ones that are really making the decisions. They're executing the way the system works. They're the ones that are carrying out these murders and what have you. But the politicians are the ones that control how and why these things sort of happen, okay? So have a, like Campaign Zero. I'm not sure if you guys are aware with what Campaign Zero is, but they are a police reform program that basically came about in 2015. Now, in regards to Campaign Zero, allow me to read to you their core policies and principles and what they believe should be implemented in order to stop police brutality, because it's really great. Now, after I read this, I'm going to add some things, but this is what I'm going to read. So there's 10 of them. 1, in broken windows policing. 2, community oversight of the police. 3, limit the use of force. 4, independently investigate and prosecute the police. 5, community representation. 6, body cams, film the police all the time. They always have their body cameras on. 7, training, and under training I would throw in de-escalation tactics. 8, in for-profit policing. 9, demilitarization of the police, that's crucial. And 10, fair police union contracts. Now, on their website, it elaborates on these rules. I just read to you the 10 kind of rules. I almost said commandments. The 10 policies. You know, if I were to go into detail on these, we'd be here all day. But those are the 10 things that I think that are really needed. But also, as it pertains to actually getting the change. Now, in the last video, I talked a lot about the police unions and how strong and powerful they were, especially in blocking a lot of legislation that would help the everyday person with their relationship with the police. Yeah, I'm kind of at the point where I think that any change in regards to how we police in this country has to come from the federal level in order for it to actually be effective. And that's going to take a president that actually believes in this stuff. And I also think none of this is going to happen until we get to a place where we don't have the current system that we have. And well, what do you mean by this current? I mean this pro-capitalist system that we have, because this is the kind of stuff that capitalism promotes. This is the kind of stuff that thrives under capitalism. Now, do we have to change the system as a whole? I'm not so sure about that. There are aspects of capitalism that I do like and agree with, and I think that we should keep. But there isn't even a conversation in our politics here in this country as if, okay, well, what percentage should we have of capitalism and what percentage should we have of another system? Or, you know, should it be 50-50? Should it be 50-40? Should it be 70-30? Those kinds of discussions are never had within our politics. It's just that, okay, this system that we have, this is the end all be all. This is as good as it can get. And literally every other developed country has shown us that that's not true. But we seem to like to ignore that for our own convenience. So there needs to be a changing of the system, and that's where the economic fight comes in, where I mentioned earlier with the people that are fighting for the progressive economic legislation needs to team up with those that are fighting for the progressive racial relations legislation. And as I said, it's going to take a president with an FDR approach on these social issues, how he was with economical issues with the CIO and the AFL behind him, and the socialists and the communists who were around back then before they were purged, pushing him from behind to where he implemented all those New Deal policies, is going to take the same thing with the new president. And that guy isn't going to be Joe Biden. I'm sorry to break it to you, but it's not going to be him. It's not going to be Kamala Harris, the top cop herself. I mean, I don't need to elaborate, but their record speaks for itself. It's crime bill Joe Biden, tough on crime Joe Biden, tough on drugs, drug warrior Joe Biden. None of this is going to happen. And his response to the killing of Dante Wright, I don't know if you've seen it. I recommend that you go look at it. It was kind of detestful. So there's no hope for them in that regard. But hopefully someone will come around, and through them we can get these policies implemented. But what I also want to leave you with in my closing regards to this video is a few ideas of my own and what I saw other people were saying that I kind of adopted. So I was watching TYT, and Cenk Uygur basically said a way to curve. I don't know if this is his original thought or if he got it from somebody else. I don't really care. But he said that when police murder someone and that family or whoever sues, don't have the city pay for it. Don't have the taxpayers pay for it. Have that particular police officer pay for it. So that the next time he goes to kill somebody, he knows that, whoa, that money's going to come out of his pocket. And I think that that's absolutely brilliant. And what other lefties were saying was there needs to be multiple factions of law enforcement. Like, I completely agree with this. Get the police out of people's lives, honestly, as much as possible. Okay? The police role should be, in my opinion, as I see it, to catch the robbers, the murderers, the grand larcenists, etc. They shouldn't be like enforcing traffic rules. I don't think that we need them there. And a lot of people were saying like, okay, where there should be like a traffic force, where the same people that give you parking tickets pull you over if you run a stop sign, or pull you over if you run a red light. You know, like imagine, going 5 over and you get pulled over by a guy with a bunch of equipment and guns and everything else, right? That's completely unnecessary. What if the same person that gives you a parking ticket pulls you over, they have a car with lights and a siren, and they pull you over, and okay, if you try to run, right? And this person doesn't have a gun, by the way. You try to run, okay, well, we got you on camera. We know what your car looks like. We have your license plate. Probably know what you look like as well. You won't get too far. Like there's no need for all the extra shit, killing people on traffic stops. And the other part of it was they were saying, okay, for calls where a person is mentally distressed or going through some sort of mental ordeal, instead of deploying the police who have guns, and if you give a person a hammer, everything looks like a nail, let's deploy mental health personnel. So there could be essentially 3 different factions of law enforcement where one deals with one thing and the other one doesn't. And I mean, these are just ideas, okay? And these ideas are going to be more difficult to implement than the economic ones because it's targeted towards specific groups, okay? Not everybody, obviously, is affected by police brutality. But hopefully, watching this video, this 2-part series, if you watch both parts, you found it, I don't know, maybe helpful or educational, or if you like my opinion, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think down below. Like the video if you can. Thank you for watching. My name is Malik. Peace.